Hey, folks, can everybody hear me okay? Before we get started today, I put a message into the TNT room. Did you see where I said buy the TQQ just to hold? This is a case if you don't want to put a lot of money in, you ought to put $1,000 or 500 in, just buy it and hold it and watch it for the rest of the year. I think you'll be happy you did, okay? And it's not to trade. And I said, if you want to trade, you can buy a Delta 50. Or Delta 30 or Delta 40. But anyway, I wanted to share that with everybody. That's what I did. And so if you went to Telegram, you would see in there where I typed in buy TQQ to hold. Now you don't have to use $500, 1,000. You do $100. I'm trying to teach you here at the first of the year. Now the TQQ doesn't have an expiration date. If it goes above the 3-day high later on, maybe you want to add to it. But anyway, did everybody see that message in TNT this morning? And I'll show you how powerful it is in a second. But I'm trying to get you a way to have a scholarship in TNT, okay, for the year, okay, if you do this. All right, so welcome aboard. And today is our third day. We put out some power. Jonathan, did any of our power trades hit or anything like that?
Yeah, actually diamond triggered and hit target already. Good trade.
We already made money here in 2026.
That's actually right. First trade of the new year, a winner. Nice job, Tom.
Yep. All right, so risks involved in trading, and I'll answer everybody's questions. Let me get to the point I want to show everybody, but past performance is not indicative of future results, in my opinion. Okay, I'm having a conversation with Jeffrey Hirsch today. He will be in our next Friday, if I got to verify the schedule, but next Friday, he will be analyzing what I'm about to tell you, but give you some more details. Okay, write this down. I call it, if you see all this, you got a big market, and you got a big market this year. The first is, what did the Santa Claus rally do? Well, the Santa Claus rally, in my opinion, was bullish. That's the first step. The second step, do we go above in January the 3-day high? Well, we don't know what the 3-day high is yet. Right now, if you look at E-mini, the 3-day high, I think happened today, right, Jonathan? I think 69 something.
$69.77. And yes, that is the high from the
That's the
3-day.
high so far. So if we go higher than that, then that would mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's the second thing we need to happen to have a good January. The third thing that we need to have is we track the 5 days in January. This is Jeffrey Hirsch's indicator. If I think it's 80% or 90%. You're looking the almanac, but it'll tell you where that's a percentage. That's great. So that's three things that can happen right now to give you a head start on 2026. The last thing is January is positive and matches up. Now you got a full house. Anybody know what a full house is in cards? Hard to beat, isn't it? Okay, Jonathan, why don't you type those steps that we're looking for? Santa Claus rally, good. 3-day algo is next. That'll be next. And then the 5 days will be third. And then, of course, January will be the final deal. Okay? Perfect. Hope everybody writes that down. I just gave you a fortune if you learn how to use it. Okay, that's my opinion. My opinion is usually right about stuff like this, by the way. Okay? All right, train and trade. Welcome to Train and Trade. Today's topic was, how do I or you find a pivot number? Well, we're going to talk pivot number, I think, Jonathan, for the S&P, right? I hadn't seen the slides, but that'd be my guess.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, so how do we find a pivot number? All right, let's go through the 25 FTDs. And John, I'm gonna let you explain this.
Yeah, if you're here yesterday, you know what this is. If you're brand new, one of the 4 or 5 steps there that Tom mentioned was the first 3 days, and today is the third day of the new month. It forms a high and a low. You can see that here so far. Subject to change perhaps for the rest of the day. But today is day 3, and we've included today's highs and lows, and some of them made a new high today, like S&P. Some of them did not, but the 3-day high on the S&P is 69.77, low down at 68.66, so about 110-point range or so. Midpoint 69.22. Current price as of 11:04 a.m. Eastern time a moment ago was 69.56. After today, all the day 1, 2, and 3 numbers will go away. And then I will bring these columns over, which are not to be used yet, but anytime once we're through the first 3 days, so starting tomorrow, if a stock, when I update this spreadsheet, which I generally do as we go live for train and trade around 11 each day, but as a stock is above the high for the first 3 days, it'll say long. Or if it's below the low from the first 3 days, it'll say short. All right, like this down here. Again, these don't mean anything yet, so don't use them. That's why they're drug off to the far right. But that's what we're looking at right now. S&P opened the year at 69.02. It has a high in the first 3 days of this month, 69.77, the new year. And it should have a little resistance there up at the high, 69.94 from December. But that's kind of our current target there. We'll see how the day finishes up. And Tom, I'll turn it back to you.
Perfect. Everybody understand what he just said? It's very important you understand that. Go back to it real quick. Let's just go through a few stocks to see what it's telling us right now. Okay.
Scroll down a little ways.
Okay. Start out with Apple.
Apple.
Okay. What do you think Apple's telling you right now?
Are you asking me or asking the folks in the channel, in the
I'm
chat?
asking the folks, I'm trying to get their interpretation of what Apple's telling them. Short, short, short. Right. All right. What is Amazon telling you? What is Google telling you? What is NVIDIA telling you? Now, if you don't understand what it's telling you, you need to ask questions. That's what we're doing this exercise for. All right, go to SLV. You see December high was 71.22. We made a new high today, didn't we? That's pretty good stuff right there. If you're long silver. Y'all know anybody that's been talking about silver going higher? Keep your eye on that 73.19 tomorrow. Okay. Anyway, I want to show that to you. You got to interpret the sheet to get on the right side of the world, or as I always say, the right side of history. Okay, go to TQQ. December high was 57, so we needed to get above 57. It's currently 54, right? But the 3-day high is 54.88, 3-day low is 51. The reason I went on and probed it was because we're near the high of the range. Could be wrong, but at least I know where I am wrong if it breaks 51, right? And Jonathan, we have a white paper on Delta that they could read if nobody understands Delta on options. Or a video or something where we covered it.
Yeah, we should have a video. No white paper, we should have a video. I just reposted the 4 steps
Right.
covered earlier. Someone asked for those. And I'm going to see if I can find a video on Delta.
Mhm. Anyway, folks, this is a very valuable sheet that Jonathan updates. He does all the work for you. I mean, goodness gracious, you got a high paid research analyst with experience giving you the best of the best at no charge. That might change. I'm getting greedy. I'm playing with you. I want to help you, and I think you got to learn the sheet. Yeah, I said my thought of the day. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. And I know you've heard that before, but I'm making it my own. Okay. I'm glad you brought up the SPX, Don. I've got a new SPX XSP. I'll be doing another master class on it. I'll get with Jonathan. We'll let everybody know maybe tomorrow when we're going to do it. It's only going to take 20 to 30 minutes, but it's a pretty good master class that I might could do tomorrow. We'll see. All right, let's keep going.
I just posted a link to the options playbook, simple definitions of the Greeks. Delta's number 1. That'd be a good resource for you if you don't know what Delta is. Yeah,
you ought to read that, because that's how I communicate with people, both in futures and stocks and in TNT sometimes. All right, Jonathan, why don't you go and let me add in, because I've done this 1,000 times, and maybe I'll find another trade or two.
Sounds good to me. So today's topic, how to use Tom's daily pivot on the S&P. Type into the chat if you know what today's daily pivot is. It's in our slide deck today, but type into the chat if you know what today's daily pivot is, or was, I guess I'd say.
Or we're above it or below it. That's a hint, isn't it? If you're above it, that's probably telling you that we're looking pretty good.
Lots of folks typed in 69.45, and some folks saying above. That's good. 15 was the pivot from yesterday. Francis, 45 today.
That's so valuable. John, I charge for it. I just give it to everybody free every day.
Now you posted it in your free channel, T-Buzz TV, along with video that you do every day as well.
Guys, I give away more free stuff than most people charge for. I just want to let the record reflect, okay? Because I know how hard this is, and if I can help you, I want to help you, and that's the way I can help you.
And that pivot is the best method, right? Tom's just not blowing smoke. It's the best method we use to stay long, short, or out, or decide to be long, short, or out every single day.
And I use the S&P 500 because 75% of all stocks follow it. I also have pivot numbers I post inside the TNT room. This morning, I put a pivot number for MU. If you go look at MU today, I think it went way up today. It was way up last time I checked. I hadn't checked it recently. MU. Let's see. Yeah, 332. Go look at the pivot number I posted in TNT. Whoa, that'll pay for a lot of subscriptions. Again, buy the stock or buy a Delta equivalent from 10 to 50. All right.
So what is the daily pivot? It's a price in the market that will tell us whether to be thinking long or thinking short. So today's daily pivot on the S&P is 69.45, and we're trading at 69.56. Should we be thinking long or should we be thinking short? If we're above the pivot, we're certainly not thinking short. We're thinking long, right? We're going to search out, maybe we're trading the SPY index or SPX index, cash index for the SPY ETF, something directly related to the S&P, or maybe we're searching out individual stocks like Micron, as Tom mentioned. If we're below pivot, we are certainly not buying stocks on that day. All right. That's how we use it. Keep it simple. Above pivot, thinking bullish strategies. Below pivot, thinking bearish strategies. And some might say, well, you give a pivot on every single day. Does that mean it's a day trade strategy? The answer is no. Right? You're certainly using it on a daily basis if you're trading intraday. But anytime you're even establishing a new longer term position, right, you've got to enter it intraday when it comes time to click that mouse. So you use
Yeah, and off the sheet, Jonathan's got opening prices for the month. That's my monthly pivot for everything I trade. How does that work? If I'm above that, I start looking to be long that stock.
and we'll review that in just a moment as well. But that's kind of the start of every month, like Tom says, that monthly open. You get 12 chances a year for a stock to prove itself on a monthly basis. Starts with that monthly open. So we're looking at the S&P specifically to establish a pivot because around 75% of all stocks will follow the S&P 500. So why not start with the S&P 500 to give your daily pivot, and you can go from there. All right, we want to determine the big picture trend, and the S&P does a fantastic job of displaying that on the daily basis. That's why we follow the S&P 500, and that's why Tom gives us pivot on the S&P 500 every single day. So, as mentioned already, T-Buzz TV is completely free. If you're here today and not part of T-Buzz TV, type your email into the chat. All right, type your email into the chat. We need to get you involved with T-Buzz TV. All right, you can get Telegram for free. A great platform that we use for communication. And Tom has a T-Buzz TV channel where he posts his daily video and his daily pivot every single day.
Yeah, and folks, I usually post it sometime around 7 o'clock in the morning. And I always put my pivot number in there, but maybe what I think about the day. For example, this morning I highlighted the fact that silver, surprisingly, was real strong. That was my way of saying, you ought to look at silver early.
Hey, Jahan and Greg and Joanne, I'm going to ask Adam, who is here today, to help you get involved with T-Buzz TV. Again, completely free to join. You might just have to download Telegram, which we've got. I think we have a little tutorial on that as well. But Adam will be reaching out to you in the chat in just a moment to help you get involved. And we have an iPhone. iPhone, can you type your name into the chat so we know who you are? Thanks for joining us. iPhone says, today is my first day, Tom, and he or she is feeling lost. So I want to go back once we found out who this
Hey,
is.
let's cover that. If you're new, you want to get the white papers that we put together and read through those. That way the terms we use will be familiar. You want to read my first book, Winning the Day Trading Game. It's a lot more than day trading, but you ought to read it. And then you do those two things and then learn about our software and what we have to, to be able to do stuff like this, be able to sit here and look at the market and see, whether it's correcting or going up during these webinars, because we are traders. We want to make money just like you do. And sometimes the distraction of doing this costs us money. And so I really try to be here at a certain time. And this time leads into what we call our reference bars, and you'll learn that in the white papers. It's totally free. That's free. Where I'm going to charge you is when I start handing you money. I take a percentage of the money I hand you and call it a service. Can't work for free, folks. Anyway.
Hey, those who posted your email, I sent you the Telegram link for T-Buzz TV. I'll post it into the main channel. Like I said, it's completely free to join. Just need to get Telegram on your computer and your phone. And by the way, Adam said it's already, if you're here today, it's the T-Bus TV is actually already going to your email as well, if you'd rather check it through email. But Telegram is just way more convenient, I would say.
Right,
But
fast too.
no, and faster, right? And if you're checking your email, you might just have to check your spam. And if it's in your spam, just mark it as safe and good content, and it should go to your inbox if you do that. So here's a picture. I got the wrong, somehow grabbed yesterday's, but the pivot today is 69.45. There's a chart of what happened this morning. We went up to about 77 or so. So what's 45 to 77 times? About 30 points, 32 points on the S&P. Variety of vehicles, S&P alone, futures, buying shares, buying an option on the SPY or SPX could have made money. But the real value for those that are new, right? We're not asking you to start trading off of it right away. We just want you to track the daily pivot so that you can understand, all right, well, if we're above pivot, then odds are we should be thinking about buying something or, maybe selling a put spread, doing some kind of bullish strategy. And then if we're below pivot, it's the opposite. We're thinking short, or at the very least, we're thinking stay out, right? Especially if the bigger picture trend for the year, for the month and year is bullish, right? Which, we don't really know yet. We're in the first 3 days of the brand new year. But if the bigger picture trend of the year and month is bullish, and then we have one day where we're below Tom's pivot, then you don't want to be buying anything then. And you don't necessarily want to be shorting anything either, because you're trading a counter trend that probably won't last very long if the underlying picture is bullish. So the person who, I never got iPhone's name, but if you're still here, I hope you're still here. Just keeping it simple to the daily pivot and how to think about it, how to use it. I know you're brand new, but is that starting to make a little sense here? As that fits the slide here. All right, good deal. Now, if you just typed your email into the chat for the Telegram link, I posted it to everyone. I'll post it again. And again, it should be going to your email as well. All right, but there's Telegram link once again. Hey, Tom, let's keep going here. We got a little bit about pivots. A lot of people think pivots are calculated, open plus high plus low divided by 3 or some other form of calculated pivot. At DTI, we use more time-based pivots as our main pivots. Time-based.
And that's a distinguishing factor because you have a yearly pivot, you got your monthly pivot, you got your weekly pivot, you got your reference bar pivot. There's a lot of different type pivots you can have, depending on your personal preference on how you're going to trade.
Yeah, obviously we just got the yearly. It's a new quarter, it's a new month, all right? A new week. A new week is a little bit, sometimes the weekly open will be the same as the monthly, not often. Sometimes the daily open will be the same as the week, right? But not, it depends. Obviously that'll be on Monday, but keep in mind these are all different time frame pivots. Especially right now, the yearly open and the monthly open are very, very important. As we go through the year, the yearly open might become less important as we move further and further away from it. But that's where, like in the fourth quarter, we'll use the quarterly open. Kind of, Tom's explained it before, is kind of the start of a new year. Usually we're pretty far away from the year open at that point. Not always, but usually. And so we'll use the October open as kind of like a mini year open type at that point. But as a monthly basis, as I mentioned before, 12 times a year, your stocks get a chance to prove themselves. And you will see the trend shift as new months come on board. And if I've never paid attention to that. If you're new, start paying attention to it. Keep it simple. On a daily basis, what is Tom's pivot? What's the market doing based off that? On a monthly basis, track your stocks. How are they behaving off the monthly open? Yes, the great question from Jean Marie says, when you say open, do you mean when the market opens? It really depends on the asset you're looking at. If it's a futures market, futures open at night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Great question. If it's a stock, they open at 9:30. We count the 9:30 a.m. Eastern time cash market open as their official opening price. So a little bit more about time of day, which is critical to our method. If we narrow it down even in a shorter time frame to the daily open, we have what we call reference bars. Now, those that are new, this is going to be completely new to you. All right. Probably never even heard of what a reference bar is. What they are, they're all 30-minute bars or candles. All right, 30-minute, I'll call them bars, even though when we go live, we show candles just because it's easier to see. But 30-minute bars that happen at key times during the day. Starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time when the futures market opens, we have a 30-minute reference bar. We'll show you live in a moment. And we use that 30-minute bar as a reference, as a guide to trade during the Asian time segment. We have another reference bar at 4:30 Eastern to guide us through Europe. That's RB2. RB3, if we skip one there, RB3 is when the US market, cash market opens at 9:30. That's RB3, guides us through the US morning hours. And then RB4 is in the afternoon when traders get back from lunch. That's RB4. And stuck in between those, we have RBX for pre-market trading in the US at 7 a.m. Eastern time. We have, perhaps, depends on a few things, but perhaps maybe the most important reference bar of the day, even though it's not bolded there, at 11:30, which is reference bar Y. It's when the European markets close. You'll hear Tom often refer to this as Genesis. The reason being, cleverly named because when the European markets close down, it's the first time all day that US traders basically have full control over where they want to move the markets. So that 11:30 a.m. Eastern time is a very important time. Even though it's not bold on this slide here, it's very, very important.
You know, if you're trading the QQQ, you're trading the SPY, you're trading E-minis, you're trading XSP. This is a very important time you got to be aware of right here at 11:30 to 12, because 4 out of 5 times the market will mark a low short term or a short term high. And if you get a continuation day, heads up, a continuation day means it didn't mark a low or mark a high. Those are the days that I push a lot of chips in there because they really keep going at least to RB4, if not to RBZ. Huge days are had on those continuation days. Very rare. 1 out of 5 maybe meets that criteria, but when it happens, you'll hear me go silent as I'm loading everything I got, you know, on that move, because it is a huge move. That's where you have your big 1.5% days, stuff like that you read about. You got an early indication of it if you get a continuation day off the Genesis bar.
We go live real quick, Tom, and show a live look at the S&P futures, just to show everybody new what we can do with the compass charts. This is
one of the things that we had a couple great tools, MTI by DTI and the Roadmap software. You know, obviously I founded this company years ago, and I used to have all this piece of paper and I couldn't find what I was looking at. So I organized everything according to what I thought was important. And so we have a compass chart, and Chuck made reference to all the numbers, the key numbers over there to the left. Let me just go through those in the metrics. ATR is how much that market's going to move on average. The ID is the volatility of the particular ticker you got. And John, if I can't see it, you go read the rest of it and tell them what they're telling
The RBY is the current reference bar we're on. It just started. It's 11:33. We just learned that Genesis starts at 11:30, so we're 3 minutes in. But the opening price of that reference bar is 69.58. We've had a high today, and before we move on, what was today's pivot? What was today's pivot on the S&P futures?
45.
69.45. Is that reference bar open or below 45? It's above it, right? So that's a bullish sign. If a reference bar opens above Tom's pivot, that's a bullish sign.
That's a good insight you ought to write down. That's a good one, Jonathan. I didn't think of it the way you just phrased it.
Okay, the next up got daily high at 69.77. That happened off the morning move, and daily low of 69.31 happened overnight. The weekly open is 69.11. The month open and year open is the same at 69.02. Let's connect the dots. We opened the year at 69.02. We opened this week a little bit higher, 69.11. Today's pivot, 69.45. I'll just put a mark over here. And the current reference bar opens 69.58. Notice we got higher, 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 and then current price 69.60. All right. Connect those opens. It'll help you see the market a lot more clearly. And it's just fantastic, a fantastic way Tom has developed to view the market. It's consistent. Anyone can do it. Tracking price.
Here's the way you got to think about the roadmap software. Chuck Crow's been with me since day one, and we've had a lot of smart people come along after Chuck and I started this thing years ago. And we listen to people all over the United States, all over the world have been visited DTI, and I picked up things from everybody. And a lot of that's incorporated right inside the roadmap software. So it's really a combination of intelligence you won't get anywhere else when it comes to trading. Showing the frame, what that means, the frame on the chart.
The frame, and before we get to the frame, Tom, we haven't mentioned this yet. So we have markers over each reference bar. 1, 2, 3. Here's X and here's Y, the one currently forming Y. You'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4 reference bars are blue and X, Y, and Z are white. And once we get past the 3 days on a little bit bigger picture basis, if we can get outside if we get above the high of the 3 days, then we can kind of move to our reference bars and reference bar timing. But if you just look at the market overnight, we had a reference bar 1 here, and the first 2 hours is kind of a pause time, right? You shouldn't be doing much trading, and then about 2 hours in, Asia opens, that green bar there. A little bit later, that's when Europe came on board, the red bar. We placed reference bar 2 a little bit later, get past the news. And then obviously here's the US coming on board. And what Tom was mentioning in this RB frame, what we can do, we like to establish a high and a low to trade from. And we can do that within each individual reference bar, but what Tom's added is RB frame, which tracks the prior 2 reference bars. So we got number 1 of the past 2 at RB3, and then number 2 of the past 2 of RBY forming now. But those prior 2 reference bars, you can kind of tell the high and low both came from RB3. That doesn't always happen. But of the past 2 reference bars, the highest high is 69.69, and the lowest low is 69.45. And the way you use that is a couple different ways. If we connect the dots over here on the metrics, and we say we open the year at 02, open the month at 02, open the week at 11, all right, we're above Tom's pivot, which is not on the metrics, but you know that from T-Buzz TV. We're thinking long. And if we're thinking long, but we're not in yet, we want to get in at an advantageous time. And if we get back above that frame high, that RB frame high, that will signal to us that prices are continuing to trend higher. And if it can do that today after the Genesis bar, which is forming, we might get one of those continuation days that Tom was just talking about. Continuation higher.
Jonathan, I see a question that we really ought to go over because Jonathan's in Mobile, Alabama, and I was on Central Time. I used to tell people, if you can tell time, I can teach you to make money. I went all over the world teaching and everything, and everybody wanted me to change to their time zone. Well, I was on Central Time, so I left it that way. Then a funny thing happened. I moved to Florida, got on Eastern Time, and for the first 2 years I just couldn't leave my Central Time. I was going back and forth with one computer on Eastern Time, the other computer on Central Time. Eventually, I gave in. I got everything on Eastern Time now. So how can they change their time to their time zone?
So most of the roadmap is automatically based on your time zone. I've even got this computer in Eastern time, so everything's based on Eastern except for a static Central. Like this number right here is going to always say 12:30 p.m. Central time. It might throw you off, but maybe we should change that time so it doesn't throw anybody off.
Yeah, change it, make it match up, if you will, because I think, I had a discussion with Chuck. Chuck's like a night fighter with his roadmap. It's all black, and I said, Chuck, you got to show in the white bars and the blue bars and keep it standard. Once you get your own roadmap, you can turn it into rainbow colors if you want to. I don't care, but I do want everybody to sort of understand the white bars and the blue bars.
Yeah, and I think it's important to stay consistent. Most of the folks I talk to and help with the roadmap, they want it set up just like we display it so that it's easier for them to kind of follow along on their own computer and not get confused. So, all right, that's enough with this. But I mean, we've covered just one of the actually several of the pillars of the DTI method, and that's great that we have new folks here today, Tom, that we're able to do that. And it worked out well that the Daily Pivot was today's topic.
You will find out, unlike a lot of people, I am a trader, meaning if I say I'm doing something, I do it. And, all you got to do is spend a few minutes with me to know that I'm just not talking about this might work or that might work. I'm doing the trades too. And so when, you can see it's a very successful thing. I'll tell you, people, I've had this question asked for 20 years. People say, well, Tom, how accurate are you? And I always say I'm about 4 out of 5 times I'm going to be right. At one times where I got to be wrong. And it happens that way. Now I'll hit some streaks here and there, but the bottom line is if I give you something, you can pretty well see it work out 4 out of 5 times. In fact, I think last year it came in like 79% after about 350 recorded trades. I did more than that, actually, probably over 80 if you count all those, but it showed 79%. So if I give you something, you got about a 4 out of 5 chance. Hey, we might make some money with that sucker. We always got to be on guard when that ugly one shows up and pitch it as soon as we get it, if we can recognize it.
I had a question coming to the chat about how to catch the replay of this session. All of our train and trade sessions, which are free to attend, you can go to the YouTube channel. We've got it really easy to remember how to get there. Just dtitrader.com/YouTube, dtitrader.com/YouTube. Once you get there, click on the live tab and you'll find we're live right now, but you'll also find recordings there once we're done. And anytime Tom is live on YouTube, the recordings are on the live tab. While you're there,
Jonathan, I know we need to move on, but man, the questions, like look at Art's question. Is there a video on setting up the roadmap to mirror what I've got or what he uses daily? Absolutely, Art. You want to just tell him how to do it?
Yeah, that Art, if you need to catch the review on the members area, I'm about to show you how to do it, but on the members area, if you go to the roadmap software section and you go into the installation guide, part of the installation video is teaching you how to download the Tom Simple Workspace. And let me just show that real quick. Let me save this workspace.
Great question though, Art.
Yep, definitely. Let me close this current workspace I'm on. Across the menu bar of the roadmap, if you click on launch, about halfway down, if you go to internet, Once the box pops up, click on connect. And you got some information that fills in at the bottom left under workspaces. Click Tom Simple. Click connect. Or excuse me, click download. Check the box for Tom Simple. Click download. You'll see a progress bar flash up real quick. Depends on your internet speed. And once it's done, finished downloading, X off that box. Again, I'll show you launch, internet, click connect, check the box for Tom Simple. If you were brand new to the roadmap and you needed a starting point, this is a good time as well. If you just installed roadmap on a new computer, a good chance to start over, right? Tom Simple, and go from there, check it, click download. Once it's finished downloading, X off the box, click on workspaces across the menu bar of the roadmap. Scroll over open workspace, and I'll just open up this Tom Simple workspace so you can see what it's like. Depending on your screen size, you might have to kind of rearrange some of the windows. And you might have a couple futures to roll over too, like crude oil needs to be rolled over and Bitcoin needs to be rolled over. Won't teach you that right now, but something you'll learn along the way with the roadmap. But that's a great starting point. It gives you all the tabs at the bottom with various features that we like to use. Any questions on this before we go back to the presentation? Trader, I'm not sure what your...
Why don't you send an email trader to Roe at DTI Trader and he'll handle you individually. That's what we call customer service with a smile.
There you go. Let's
So
go
it's
back
Roe
to
at
today's
DTI Trader.
presentation.
Thanks.
So we talked about yearly opens, quarterly opens, monthly opens, weekly opens, daily opens, and reference bar opens, all of our time-based pivots. We also have what we call key event pivots, right? These are obviously, less often, but we have key event pivots. One of them being a Fed pivot and others being earnings pivots. We're about to move into another earnings season. So the opening price at the time of a key news, it acts as a pivot, right? As an example, on Fed Day, when the interest rate decision is released at 2 p.m. Eastern time, that opening price at 2 p.m. Eastern time we use as a Fed pivot, right? And we'll use that Fed pivot the rest of the day and the next day and about a week or so. And, we'll refer to it about a week or so after that. And then as time goes on, obviously, pivot loses relevance as price moves away from it. But that's a very good way to treat the Fed as viewed as a Fed pivot. And earnings are very similar as well, whether it's pre-market or aftermarket when the earnings is released. That price right around that time is a good pivot. Couple must reads. All right, we've already posted them, but there's a DTI white paper booklet. We have a key terms white paper. We have a pivot, so you can read more about pivots at the white paper. And then we have the reference bar white paper. Those are the main three. There's more there, but there's the main three. And you can get there by dtitrader.com/WP. Sure, I've enjoyed this session, Tom. I'm going to enjoy next Friday even more because that's when we have Jeffrey Hirsch on. You're getting Jeffrey Hirsch on for our home study course, folks, next Friday.
Yeah, I'm about to have a conversation with him to talk about some of the things we want to cover. But I think that if you really want to learn and care about your money, and I say that care about your money, the home study course is something we put together interactive, meaning it will constantly have benefit after benefit. In fact, I just decided today, this Friday, in the channel, the Telegram channel, I'm planning on, okay, believe this or not, I'm going to post a trade in there for a January trade for the home study people, because I'm real big on letting the uneducated pay for the education. And by you taking your effort and some to be part of it, I'm going to do that this Friday. So pay attention, and then hopefully you have something to crow about the following week when we meet with Jeffrey. The other thing that I will tell you, I think, the price has gone up for the home study, but we're going to play a video, and we got to change this. I got to get with Adam, but this is, you're not supposed to be able to buy it at this price, but I will honor it today. And so if you want to get in wholesale, so to speak, buy the home study today. Jonathan, why don't you play the tape?
All right, good deal. Hey, Tom, just so I can be clear myself and everybody's clear, Jeffrey's going to join us. Is it next Friday?
Yeah, this one we'll verify in about an hour.
Okay, so tentatively January 16th. I initially had this Friday on
he'll be here. He'll be here, and I will set the time today. And the other thing, Jonathan, to remind people, we kick off live trading this afternoon. If you're interested in that, I'll have Jonathan throw the link in. I do live trading Tuesday through Friday, and we'll have our first session this afternoon at 2:30. So that's the story.
Right, I'll dig up that link for live trading with T-Buzz. We're about to play a video on the home study course. For the home study course, you can go to detachment.com/home, and you'll learn about it here in just a moment. So look for that link for the live trading with T-Buzz. Here's the link for the home
You
study.
see that price there, folks? It's supposed to be changed for today. I got to get with Adam. So anyway, that dirty dog didn't change it. And I knew he didn't when I didn't talk to him. I just know how he thinks. He's always trying to cheapen something that's really valuable. I got to slap him around a little bit. Oh, Adam, take his lunch away. Anyway, get started, be part of it.